Welcome to the League of Women Voters and the Alliance for the Arts Virtual Candidates Forum. Some of the League's voter service activities include candidate forums and voter guides. This information is made available to the voting public to help in their decision-making process. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose candidates or political parties. Happy learning.
Welcome to a candidate forum presented by the League of Women Voters of Lee County in conjunction with the Alliance for the Arts. The purpose of these forums is to inform the voting public of the opinions of the candidates running for office. It's not a debate. There will be no crosstalk between the candidates. There won't be any comments from one candidate on another candidate's position. They will be given 2 minutes to open. They will be given 2 minutes to close. They will be given 1 minute to answer each question. The order of answering the questions and opening and closing is random, to be decided at the beginning of the forum itself. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum, which we're performing with the Alliance for the Arts today. These are school board districts 2 and 3 running together. Most of these questions relate to the general school board and won't be specific to District 2 or 3, although I understand the voters in those districts have different concerns. So we've already explained how this goes to the audience, and so I'm just going to begin. The first person to give their opening statement is Emery Cavan.
All right. So hello, my name is Emery Cavan. Just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm a recent graduate of Fort Myers High School, which gives me a little bit of an unconventional perspective on this position. During my time in high school, I was really involved with both the community, the school district, and my school. I was the president of student body. I worked on the school board student advisory committee, where I basically sat on the school board at certain meetings, and I was able to concerns of the public and communicate the concerns of my peers and my teachers and the people around me important to me. And I was also an employee in the communications and production department of the school district. I basically got a school in the district to tell the story of the people who really put their blood, sweat, and tears every day into making our district the way it is today. And that really inspired me, all of those things together, to run for school board and just try to give back. So in terms of the issues, I think it's really important that we make longtime teachers who have dedicated their entire lives to our students feel valued in our district. I think that it's important that amid the coronavirus pandemic, we make sure that we fight on the state level for better funding and to make sure that education is not forgotten. And I think that it's important that we make sure that students have access to the mental health care that they deserve and that they need, and that the board is a body that's dedicated to making students into the people of tomorrow and isn't busy concerned with personal politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cavan. Ms. Fox?
Thank you. My name is Charla Fox, and I am currently a school teacher in Lee County. I teach at South Fort Myers High. I was born and raised in Lee County, and I am the product of the school system here. I am a product of educators. My parents also taught and were administrators in this county. I was brought up with a firm belief that education is one of the ways we create opportunities for our future and for our children's future. And so that is part of what my commitment has always been. I have been working in trying to help our students achieve what they want to achieve in their lives and to fulfill all of their potentials and to open up those doors for them. And that is part of what school does. I believe that we need to keep our students and our staff safe during this time of coronavirus. I believe that there are a lot of different things that we can do. We're going to need to make some tough choices. We're going to need to have some real tough conversations. I also believe that we need to have a real focus on our students and what their needs are. You'll hear many things that many of us believe in that are in common, but I also think that I have a unique perspective in that I have been in the classroom and I did that crisis teaching during these last 3 months. And it created a different perspective and understanding for me to understand my students' needs and to understand the needs of our parents and of our teachers. And we need to support our teachers, and we need to be clear with Tallahassee that they need to be supporting our teachers. I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Ms. Giovanelli?
So good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Giovanelli, and I'm excited to be here today. I am a second-generation Floridian. I'm born and raised in Lee County. I have witnessed many changes in Lee County. I'm also a local realtor married to a law enforcement officer. I am a grandmother of 2. I have a daughter that's actually is attending college in the University of Arizona, and I have a daughter that works at Chico's. So I am well rooted in this community. I believe that education is the key to success and to a very thriving economy in Lee County. I'm on many boards. I'm on the Uncommon Friends Foundation, the Edison Festival of Light. I've been putting on the Edison Festival Parade for about 9 years now. I am also on the Blankets and Blessings board, which we help feed the homeless and home the homeless. We give temporary housing, and we make things affordable for those to get them back on their feet. I was elected in 2016, and I bring a different perspective as well to this board and to this forum. I am a local realtor, and I know the importance of living in the American dream, and I believe that the key to that is education. And I believe that everyone should be afforded that opportunity. And I am here to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. Mr. McCullers?
Yes, hello. I'm Jeff McCullers. I am a longtime educator and longtime native here in Lee County. I'm the 6th generation of my family to live in Estero, and it was my honor to work for the Lee County School District for 35 years. And that was after having been a student here all through elementary, middle, and high school. And I had a long time teaching at Cypress Lake High School and a long time as a district office administrator, mostly in our personnel, human resources, staff development, grants, and charter school departments. I have a lot of experience as an educational researcher and evaluator. A lot of my work at the school district was evaluating federal and state grant projects, partnership projects, new curriculum products that the district was trying out, and trying to determine if they were effective or not, or if they were useful or not in what we were trying to accomplish. What I would bring to the school board is that classroom experience, that experience as a student, that experience as a parent, and also long experience working with superintendents and school board members and school board attorneys. I have a lot of expertise in our charter school area, and I understand the intricacies of that work in Florida. It's quite complicated and also quite politically contentious. But I think I managed it successfully for a long time. So what I'm bringing is a wide range of experience, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of desire to contribute. My entire career as a teacher and as an administrator was, and this would just be a continuation of me trying to pay it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeGrazia.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian DeGrazio, and I'm running for District 3. A little bit about myself. Me and my wife are newer to the area. We chose this area approximately 6 years ago to buy our family home and raise our children here. We have 3 children, ages 5, 4, 1, and my wife is due in August with our 4th. Me and my wife work as nurses, so we weren't tied to the north, so we were able to come down and look for greener pastures, so to speak. Over the past 5 years, I've certainly been working hard to achieve financial stability for my family and to learning to be a father. Before that, in New Jersey, before having children, I spent countless hours at a Matheny School and Hospital. It's a place for kids with severe disabilities. And what got me involved down here is obviously my children and my daughter going to kindergarten. I spent some time volunteering in her class and looked into being a part of the PTO, and they do great work. They raise a lot of money and a very necessary part of the school, but I wanted to have more of a say. So certainly we all believe in education. That's why we're taking on this endeavor. And what I would bring to the school system, or the school board, excuse me, is something that's kind of lacking in a younger family currently using the school district and the schools and the public schools. They're not typically involved. Certainly I see Emery here. How are you, sir? It's very unusual for people in their 20s and 30s like Emery or myself to get involved. But we would bring a very important perspective to part of the community that typically is less involved in decision making, and that's why I'm here. Thank you very much.
Ms. Petricka?
Good morning. I'd like to start by thanking both the League and the Alliance for overcoming the uncertainty of our times and providing voters with an opportunity to get to know each of the candidates. My name is Chris Petricka. I am running for Lee County School Board District 3, and I'm here today to ask for your vote. District 3 encompasses Estero, Bonita Springs, South Fort Myers, and Fort Myers Beach. And I'm asking for your vote because I believe that I bring established leadership to the school board as I ask for your vote for a second term on the school board. During my time on the board, our students have had tremendous achievements. We have the highest graduation rate ever in the history of Lee County. We have 0 schools that are graded a D or an F by the state of Florida, and the number of A and B schools we have is increasing each year. And we are closing achievement gaps. Year after year, those gaps get smaller and smaller. And I'd like to rely on my experience, not just my experience on the school board, but I have a law degree. That law degree allows me to quickly look at statutes and policies and understand how they fit into the overall regulatory scheme that shapes public education in the state of Florida. As an example, the Commissioner of Education issued an executive order yesterday, and in that executive order, significant flexibility was provided with regard to the implementation of specific education statutes. I didn't have to look up those statutes. I knew what they were immediately upon seeing the statutory site because I have the experience in this realm and because I really, really understand the law. Finally, I have 4 children in the system. My youngest was in kindergarten when I started, and my youngest will be a junior when I a junior in high school when I finish. So seeing the district through the lens of a parent at every level of education is an important part of my experience. Thank you.
Ms. Perez?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Jacqueline Perez, and I'm running for School Board District 3. I'm a business owner. and I'm a community activist. I'm a community advocate. I have dedicated the last 10 years of my life in advocating for children and employees at the Lee County School District and assuring financial responsibility and accountability at the school district. I have an associate's degree in physical therapy assistant. I've worked in the healthcare field for almost 20 years in acute care, home care. So I have a lot of experience working with interdisciplinary teams and doing that well, and working independently also. As a business owner, I have a lot of experience in bidding, accounting, contracts, sales, and construction experience, which I can apply that to the school district. I had 4 children that went through Lee County School District Public Schools, and I presently have 3 grandchildren that are enrolled in Lee County Public Schools. I've been a big watchdog for the community in monitoring the audits. Most recently, my biggest concerns were the last audit that came up in May, where we had $21.5 million in P-card charges, more than Dade County was. We also had other statutory violations from failures from the district not following policies and federal and state statutes. I've been successful in many federal complaints, and I feel that I would be an asset to the community, for the children, and for the employees in watching over all the things.
Thank you. We're now going to start the question phase. You remember, you have 1 minute. The timer will be in the same spot on the screen. We're going to start the questioning with Mr. Cavan. And the first question is, what are the most important challenges facing the school board, and how do you propose to address them?
Well, as I touched on a little bit in my opening, I would say that the most important challenges facing our school district would be funding, making sure that the longtime staff and teachers who've dedicated their whole lives to our students have room to grow in their careers, and making sure that our board is unified and has a common purpose of making the school district policy better for everyone involved. In terms of how I'd address them, first of all, I think that we need to make sure that teachers, we put a lot of emphasis in the starting salary of teachers, making sure that we get new hires from other states, that kind of thing, bring them in. But I think that we need to focus more on making sure that they can continue to get promotions throughout their career, that they can continue to get benefits and things like that if they stay here for a long time, so that they can form roots in our district. I think we need to fight for funding at the state level. And I think that at every single board meeting, we should remind ourselves of the real focus.
Thank you, Mr. Cavan. Ms. Fox?
The most important things that I think that are the challenges that I believe are the school board is facing are first, COVID-19. This has a lot of different aspects that students and parents and teachers are facing. We need to be able to adjust and adapt at any point in time. We need to have plans in place that we can move to, and we need to have open communication between parents, students, and teachers, and the support staff in order to be able to do all of this. I know that we're working at that, but we need to continue. Funding is a major issue, and that is working with the state legislature to get appropriate funding, which has been taken away over the past 10 to 15 years. I have been doing that actively for the past 5 to 7 years. And finally, really supporting our teachers and support staff.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Ms. Giovanelli?
Good morning again. Hi. So I actually would agree with what prior Mr. Cavan said, and also Ms. Fox. And right now, the most important thing issue is COVID. And I think we need to be able to pivot where we need to at any moment in time. So I think working with the superintendent and the district to make sure that we have everyone trained and ready to move at what direction is needed is really vital and important, because we have parents, some feel that their children need to go back to school, and many of the mental health facilities or community believe that that is very important for students to get back to school. Safety is a big issue, and teachers and students need to feel safe when they're learning. So with COVID-19, we need to make sure that they are safe and able to learn at what is best for each student, and allowing that opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. McCullers?
Yes, thank you. The school district, like every other school district, had been facing all kinds of enduring problems, achievement gaps, technology divides, funding, the perennial problem for education in the United States. All of that now still is with us, and yet the world has changed in the last couple of months. So our existential threats, just with our individual lives and our business lives, is COVID. We have a global pandemic, we have a global economic shutdown, and we have a lot of people suddenly at great risk. The district has typically a fairly stable number of homeless students, and yet in the COVID area, we have to consider that most of the district's nearly 100,000 students live in rental homes, with jobs being lost and with assistance.
Thank you, Mr. McCullers. Mr. DeGrazio?
Yes, how are you? Did the timer start? There it is. All right, thanks again. So obviously COVID is a big problem, and I think the district did a couple things right, and I have to give credit where credit's due in surveying the parents and in surveying Spalk and Talcon, the teachers, to see what everyone is comfortable with. Obviously, the COVID is the main issue right now, and there's, just, like Mr. McCullers said, there's some chronic issues, but it's really a personal decision. In speaking with voters recently, it seems to have, it runs the gamut of a large minority are going to choose virtual for the first semester. And I think it's very important to save their spot, as the district is doing, to go back to their school of choice come the next semester, God willing. But COVID is what's on the table. A minute's not a lot of time to talk about it, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DeGrazio. Ms. Patrica?
Yes, I agree. I do believe that reopening schools during a global pandemic is the most important issue facing the school district right now. I believe I'm well positioned to continue to lead the district through what was a successful fourth quarter of distance learning. I just finished up working on the Florida School Boards Association task force. I was the chair of a committee that produced a reference guide for school board members across the state to use to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed as we look at reopening plans that will be submitted to us by staff. And it's also important to understand that, yes, choice is important for parents, but the vast majority of our students here in Lee County, I want to say approximately 86% of our traditional public school students qualify for free or reduced lunch. There is no real choice for those students. Many parents have to send their children back to school in order to work. So making sure we have the safest environment possible will be what drives my decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perez?
There we go. I'm sorry, I had that muted. I think the biggest challenge that we're encountering right now is the COVID crisis. I wish that we would have more frequent meetings and more information for the employees. I've been getting several phone calls from teachers and bus drivers who don't feel included, and it's a challenge in making so many different individuals at the district in different departments and parents also, along with students, feeling comfortable. I think we need to assure that we're ordering all the equipment that we need for handling COVID. And I've seen other districts already who have been installing automatic hand sanitizers on the buses. I checked with transportation yesterday, and that has yet to be ordered or done. And I'm kind of worried about that, because I think if the employees would see how active and aggressive we are handling this, they'd feel more secure.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Perez.
Thank you.
We had a little issue with my camera anyway, and I tried to make sure that that was 1 minute. I hope I was right. The next question will be started by Charla Fox. What is your plan to increase in funding, to the increase in funding from the state? Equitable. What is your plan to make the increase in funding from the state equitable for seasoned teachers?
For seasoned teachers, that is going to be something that has to be worked out through TALC and the school district, because that is something that is a negotiated item. Anytime we get into talking about salaries, that is part of our negotiations. That is what TALC is for. That is one of the major things they stand for. And I am on the executive board of TALC, and so I do understand how important it is. I am a experienced teacher, as we like to call ourselves, and it is vitally important that that is done. It is going to take taking those monies that we can and doing it as fairly as possible, and then working towards getting our legislators to understand that they need to give the control back to us to do what needs to be done.
Ms. Giovanelli?
Yes, that is a TALC and TALC a negotiated bargaining item, and it's very important because it's vital. The governor gave us $500 million. 400 of that is going to go to new teachers. So that 100 million is vital, that is distributed equitably. And I think that is going to be key for our tenured teachers, because it's important that they are not forgotten. And I will continue to be a voice for the teachers and represent them and make sure that they have due process and they are allowed that opportunity to make sure that they get the funds that is needed. Many teachers are underpaid at this point in time, and finally the governor in the state is trying to make get that, make that better for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. Mr. McCullers?
This is about the increased funding for the starting teacher salary. This is a difficult thing because the bill that passed has some parameters that really focus most of the money to beginning teachers. It's going to be up to the school district and its bargaining process to balance that out and make sure that our experienced veteran teachers who've already committed their whole lives to our schools are well compensated. So it's back to bargaining. It's back to working with TALC. It's about to making this unusual situation workable for everybody. I'm happy to have the money, and I'm happy to talk with TALC about it.
Thank you. Mr. DeGrazio?
Yes, first off, I'd like to thank the state for allocating those funds. I'm very grateful that the money is coming from Tallahassee, and we're not going to have to put any strain on the local property owners or renters through a millage increase. Certainly you would want a great deal of flexibility. You obviously don't want to just raise the starting teacher's pay. That would create quite a bit of resentment in the building, and I think everyone can agree upon that. I'm a staff nurse by trade. I work in the ICU, and I have no desire to move up. I like doing the grunt work. I like my patients, and I can relate greatly to the mildly unappreciated classroom teacher, and so I would certainly be advocating for them and a lot of the quote unquote lower level staff, that maybe don't get as much credit as they deserve. Thank you very much.
Ms. Patrica?
The question, I believe, is how to make the $500 million allocated to teacher pay increases equitable, and we can't, given the money that has been given to us by the state for this purpose this year. But I am a glass half full kind of girl, and I believe that this was a first step in the right direction by the state to recognize that teachers across the state of Florida, regardless of experience, are underpaid. I am very grateful that the state has allocated this money for this purpose. Our teachers have worked incredibly hard, arm in arm with me on several occasions, to advocate for higher pay. And what will I do to ensure equitable pay, not just for teachers at every level of experience, but for all members of staff, is I will continue to advocate positively at the state level. We are in a time right now where everybody recognizes the necessity of education and the value of teachers. And I believe we should capitalize on that, get more community support, and advocate at the state level. Thank you.
Ms. Perez?
I'd like to state that I'm in full support for our seasoned teachers to receive equitable pay as our new teachers are. There was a board meeting several months ago, and the director of human resources was in a discussion with the board members where they mentioned they would need 19 to 21 million, I believe, in funds to make it equitable for the seasoned teachers and to compensate if the raise was going to occur. And now that it has for our new teachers, we have to find the funds to do that, and I believe we can. I've spoken to many legislators, and legislators have a fear that we are not handling our monies appropriately by the result of many audits. I think that if we were to demonstrate that we can be appropriate or we can be responsible over funds, they would be more open to releasing more funds to us.
Thank you. Mr. Cavan?
Yeah, so first of all, I really believe that seasoned teachers are the lifeblood of our school district, and they need to feel like they're valued, and they need to be in a good environment. And so I think that we need to start making sure that we're raising their maximum salary so that they have room to grow in their careers as they put time to our district and to our students and form those meaningful connections. I also agree that we don't have nearly enough. The fight is not over. It needs to continue. We need to keep fighting at the state level. It is a positive step in the right direction, but it's not the last step by any stretch. I also believe that we need to make sure that they are treated in a respectful way, not just economically, but in terms of their freedom to create lesson plans and that kind of thing. And so it's really a complicated issue, and I think that it is important that we work with the teachers union as well to make sure that what we do is best for them.
Thank you, Mr. Cavan. The next question will be answered first by Ms. Giovanelli. And let me remind you that you need to pay attention to the timer in the corner. I hate to cut people off, but it's the only way that we can actually run this and get it done in a timely fashion. Ms. Giovanelli, how would you propose to increase the number of Lee County children who enter kindergarten ready to learn?
Thank you. Actually, we actually are working at the district to increase VPK program at the James Stevens Academy. We are putting those dollars that the governor just recently gave us as well for early childhood and VBK. And so it's vital because that's what's needed for a strong, for kids to graduate. We find that actually in the younger education, we have to have a strong community, the kids have to have a strong skill set, and it's vital at VPK level. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCullers?
Yes, the early childhood education is essential to any kind of academic success at all grades. And right now, the district has a considerable waiting list for children for VPK programs that we already have. What we need basically, and this is a problem in all education, is more funding. We need more VPK centers, more early childhood programs, more early childhood educators, and more access to these programs for our at-risk students.
Thank you. Mr. DeGrazio?
Yes, I actually have a personal story about this. When I was looking for a VPK in the area for my oldest daughter, everyone had a waiting list. And this isn't ones run by the district or anything. These are private ones. So the infrastructure is lacking. And also, I'll tell you what, a big reason of parental education on the increased standards. I had no idea how much they had to know and how much they had to learn before going into kindergarten. 3 weeks in, my VPK teacher was saying, you know, she's falling behind. I'm like, well, I had no idea that it's a lot different than how we were years ago. So it's parental involvement, parental education, certainly private VPK availability, and of course the funding issue, which is a chronic issue. So you know, I don't really have any magic bullet for that, but just be vocal and educate the families and parents and how important it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Petricka?
Lack of kindergarten readiness is a huge issue, specifically in Lee County. We have one of the lowest kindergarten readiness rates of all of the districts in the state. And really, one of the issues is lack of seats available to children. There is widespread recognition, or I will say growing recognition at the state level, that we do need a fix for this. We need to incentivize childcare centers to provide strong pre-K learning so that students show up in our kindergarten classes ready to learn kindergarten standards. We made an attempt to do something similar to this locally by going to childcare facilities and asking them to become certified, Lee County School District certified as a pre-K provider. The unfortunate issue there was the lack of funding. It's very, very difficult to pay employees of childcare centers the appropriate amount of money needed for that level of expertise. So again, advocating at the state level for increased funding for this would be my solution. Thank you.
Ms. Perez? I'm sorry, your name is pronounced Perez, and I lived in Miami.
Fine, don't worry. I'm okay. I'm okay. When the Florida legislators passed the Readiness Act, it was in order to help children, especially from lower income, to get ready for kindergarten. And those families have a big need of transportation and daycare, and we have to be able to meet those other needs and open up more centers, especially in high demand areas, which would be like District 5, and encouraging daycare centers to participate and getting them certified in the program, advocating to legislation to give increased funding would be most definitely a plus. Parental involvement, so parents can see the importance of being involved in the programs and they can understand how it's going to benefit their children. Having an outreach program. We have a lot of minorities and non-English speaking parents who don't know what's available to them.
Thank you. Mr. Cavan?
So I believe that I'm a strong supporter of the VPK program because the time before kindergarten is a vital part of a person's life, because that's when their personality is forming. And, you know, if we're going to have strong students and strong community in the future, we need to make sure that we're there for them on that base level right at the beginning. And I think that, of course, we need to make sure we have more funding, and that's always, you know, the main issue. And I also don't have a magic bullet for that, but I think that we need to make sure that this is one of those times when communication between the Lee County School Districts and the community at large is most important. We need to make sure that the school district and the parents are on the same page. And so we need to do that through an active social media presence, through video presentations, through in-person presentations, whatever the case may be, to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Thank you. Ms. Fox?
It has been shown that scientifically that the age of your VPK student is where a lot of those connections are made so that people can learn. And this is an incredibly important time for them. One of the biggest challenges that we have is funding. We need to be able to get parents on board and the community on board to be able to tell our legislators that this is an area that we need to have funding in. It can be funding to our school, it can be extra funding to the private sector, a combination of both, because just one is not going to fulfill the need we have here. We need to be able to create those relationships with the private entities that are providing these practices so that we can get it to the point that we have all of our students having that availability to them.
This question will be started by Mr. McCullers. The Supreme Court has recently decided that religious schools must be treated the same way other private schools are treated. How will this ruling impact the Lee County Schools budget and its overall planning?
Well, this is a continuation of a situation that has existed in Florida for some time. Florida has been distributing about $1 billion a year or close to it to private, religious, non-public schools of various types through the charter program, through various types of vouchers and scholarship programs, and now potentially through other means as well, including emergency federal funding. It's not new to Florida, but it is a persistent issue that public funds are going to private entities that are not accountable to state standards. It's worrisome, and we need to look at it.
Thank you. Mr. DeGrazio? Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. DeGrazio.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't on the screen. Okay.
Right.
So I understand both sides of the argument. I agree and am concerned that there's a lack of accountability at some of these other institutions. However, I really don't think they're going to go away. They offer a viable alternative for many parents. I would like to see, stronger accountability, but that gets very gray. When who's setting that is, and I am a fan of religious freedom. I think there should be some exemptions, but it's gray. You're giving your public dollars, your tax money to these institutions. I would say we have to find a happy medium to allow a liberty on one side and some sort of accountability on the other.
Thank you. Ms. Petricka?
Yes, thank you. It's my understanding that it is constitutional and legal. I do have a law degree. It is constitutional and legal for taxpayer dollars to go to religious organizations as long as those dollars are not used to advance religious goals or religious teachings. So that's not the issue for me as much as the accountability is. Taxpayer dollars go to traditional public schools, and there is a very strict set of standards associated with grading those schools and making sure that teachers are doing what they're supposed to be doing and students are learning what they're supposed to be learning, and that we are providing all of the necessary services surrounding English language learners or exceptional student education, specific number of minutes that have to be taught per class in a year. And many of those standards do not apply to these voucher programs. Many of these standards do not apply to money that goes to private or religious schools. So equity with regard to accountability in these systems is absolutely essential for transparency with regard to how these dollars are spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perez?
I was just trying to read up a little bit on it. And the Supreme Court ruled that it applied also to scholarships, which I don't have a problem with. A lot of the children who are enrolled in our high school charter schools were originally pushed out from our public school district and entered the charter school. And I think that they should be entitled to, if they can meet the criteria, to those funds for scholarships. There should be some accountability. There should be some kind of requirements that the school has to meet to be allowed to access those funds. But I don't believe that we should deny them total access to scholarship monies that can benefit other children in and progressing and doing more for themselves and bettering themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Coven. Kevin.
So I am a strong proponent of public education, and I also certainly respect every parent's right to make a decision that's best for them and their child. But at the end of the day, I don't think that an excess amount of public funds, money from taxpayers in the community, should be going to a place that is not accountable to those same taxpayers. I think that having a foundation amount of money that is able to allow parents to make those decisions, even if they don't have enough money to do so, is a good thing. But anything beyond that, I think, is just acting at a detriment to our current standing public education system, which is accountable to those taxpayers, to the people who are funding it at the end of the day.
Thank you. Ms. Fox?
It's the accountability issue that really makes the difference. I am a public school advocate, and I firmly believe in public schools. I believe in parents having the ability to make their choices. But the biggest challenge I see is that those schools do not have the same accountability that the public schools have. They are not held to the same standards as far as physically, as far as what they teach and how they teach, and then how they are judged for that. They do not have to deal with the same high stakes testing. They don't have to deal with the school grading systems. And so those are all things, if we are going to be giving money, then we need to, as taxpayers, have accountability for that money. And that is one of the biggest challenges, and it's getting people to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
Hi, thank you. Actually, for me, it is about equitable and an accountability. And the same rules need to apply to public versus private. It's the same. It needs to be the same across the board. At the end of the day, it's really about the student and what's the best learning environment for them. And I believe parents need to be able to have that choice opportunity. So I think that everyone pays tax dollars, and it should be available at every level for everyone. All means all. So, we've had many scholarship programs. The Hope Scholarship is a perfect example of that money that should follow the student. So with the student is being bullied, they should be able to have the opportunity to attend another school, and that money should follow them. So I believe that it's strictly equitable and accountable. And that's really what we have to make sure, that it's the same rules apply. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go to closing statements, and the first person to give that statement will be the last person to give her opening statement, which is Jacqueline Perez.
How much time do we have, Jim?
2 minutes.
Well, I've been a community advocate for almost a decade, especially with the Lee County School District in assisting parents, students, employees. I have a lot of experience in business, contracts, which have been an asset in looking over the contracts that the school district has in procurement. I've traveled up to Tallahassee to speak on behalf of the community at the JLAC committee. I've been successful with several, not one, but several Office of Civil Rights resolutions in reference to the school district violating rights. I've also been very supportive of teachers and encouraging that they receive the respect and salary that they are deserving of. I have 20 years experience in healthcare. I have extensive volunteer work that I've done since I've been 15, and I'm pretty old right now. I have a passion and a commitment to the community. I've never been compensated for anything that I've done. I've done this from my heart, because I believe that our children deserve so much better. We have the 4th highest retention rate in the 12th grade for students at almost 11%, the 4th highest. And that frightens me, that we are not giving an opportunity to all our students to be successful in what they deserve. We have at least 12 open Office of Civil Rights complaints presently in the Federal Office of Civil Rights. I'm concerned about all these issues, and I feel I could be the one to fix them.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
I want to take a second to again thank the League and the Alliance for putting this on, giving voters an opportunity to get to know us. I'd like to talk about a couple of my experiences that will help me really help Lee County move forward. And one is I sit on the Florida High School Athletic Association Board of Directors. That is the statewide governing body that sets rules for the conduct of high school athletics across the state. In that role, I am able to interact with superintendents and athletic directors and coaches and teachers and other education professionals across the state of Florida. I frequently learn best practices from them, and I'm able to bring those best practices back to Lee County and make suggestions for improvements here. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier, I am on the Florida School Boards Association Executive Committee. I was recently elected by my colleagues across the state as the president-elect of that association. That is a 3-year commitment where I will have the opportunity to advocate for statewide change. Many of the issues we've talked about today are statewide issues. And sitting on that executive committee allows me to advocate beyond our local delegation with senators and state representatives, both across the state and across the nation. That is a tremendous opportunity for our students here in Lee County, and I would hate to see them lose that. And I think finally, with regard to COVID, we talked quite a bit about the pandemic, and I want you to know that I have a very positive outlook on this. When we have this under control, when the pandemic is no longer a pandemic, I believe this is a tremendous opportunity for us to change the way we deliver education to our students. This is a tremendous learning opportunity for us, and I really believe that we will come out the other end of this pandemic far stronger and providing far better education for our students as a result of the work that I will continue to do through the task force at the FSBA. My name is Chris Patrica. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. DeGrazio? Mr. DeGrazio?
Yes, I want to reiterate, thank you so much for putting this together. This has been a difficult year for the non-incumbents to get to meet as many people as we can. And, you know, it's been challenging, and I really appreciate it. It's been nice meeting everybody, and good luck to everyone. So, yeah, so I work as a critical care nurse, and in that, you know, we're used to making very tough decisions in a high stress environment. And, you know, we're used to working with people from all walks of life, multidisciplinary teams. And I think we'd have a great opportunity in District 3 to help forge a strong working relationship with the school board. You know, I love my kids. I love our kids. Some things that are very important to me is safety. Safety's a tremendous. It's through the lens through which I see everything else. When I started this campaign, I certainly knew nothing of a global pandemic, but I think my experience as a critical care nurse and And being on the front lines of COVID now, I think it would be very beneficial to have a healthcare worker on the school board. Certainly, there's plenty of educators, and I am certainly more focused here in Lee County. I do not have statewide ambition. I want to take care of our children. I want to focus on what's best for us here locally. And yeah, so, my name is Brian DeGrazio, and I'm running for Lee County School Board in District 3. And I certainly would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. McCullers?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I have given my whole career to education. I feel like I'm one of those people that owes my very life to my own experience in school and to the own kindness and generosity of my own teachers. School is unlike anything else to me in life that connects public agencies. The whole community gets together to connect with the family to create a beautiful future for everybody's children. That's what I'm all about, and that's what I want to make happen in Lee County. We are living in historic times, and history needs the school district to be up to it. I think our current board has demonstrated that it has struggled to become a team. It has struggled to move forward. It has struggled to make some big decisions in the past, and we can't have that now. The stakes are too high. We need an agile board, an experienced board, a board ready to work as a team, and that's what I want to do. I want to make the magic happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
There. Thank you. Thank you to the League and of Women's Voters and Alliance of the Arts. I bring a different perspective to this board. I bring the people's voice. I am approachable. I work very hard to have relationships with all the local delegation and legislators and elected officials to be able to collaborate and work together. I think that's vital and very important with the community, that we have everyone's buy-in to have a strong, robust education system, because that will bring a very good, better economy for Lee County. I want to keep our businesses coming here and bring it home and stay at home and not venture into Collier County where that school system seems to be just always a little bit better. So it's important that we are held accountable and are transparent, and we are communicating with the community. I strive very hard to make sure that communication is out there, and holding that superintendent accountable to make sure that he's communicating with everyone, including staff, teachers, students, parents, everyone, all the business community. It's very vital to have our school system to be the best and be world class. In order to be world class, we have to convey that out throughout and have positive training, positive climate, work environment for all our teachers and students, because it's important that everyone is happy where they're and able to learn in an environment that is safe and conducive for all. And I mean all. I think my track record has spoke for itself. I've asked the hard questions and strive for that transparency throughout the district, and making sure that people know that they can come to me at any point in time and tell me what's wrong so we can fix it. Because once we fix it, we own it. That's how we can move on for a better school system, is owning all our deficiencies.
Ms. Fox?
Thank you to the League and to the Alliance for this opportunity to speak with the voters. I bring a different viewpoint in that my undergraduate degree was finance, and my experience has been as a teacher. I am and have been always had an understanding that education is what brings opportunity to everyone. It allows everyone to step up and to become more, and to allow our students to become more is what education is all about, and what it needs to continue to be all about. But to do that, you've got to have the support of the teachers and your support personnel, and they have to know that they are supported. They are the heart and the blood, lifeblood of our schools. And so they need to know that they are continually supported. And we need to have people that are willing to have the voice to speak to our legislators, who are the ones who give their money, because funding is what creates and allows us to have programs, but it also makes it so that we have to cut programs and cut people. And so we need to have the appropriate funding. We need to show that we are willing to make those hard choices. And we as a community have to be willing to support our students now, so we don't have to support them and they can support the community later. And those are the questions that we have to talk about. We have to know what education is. I know what education is, but I also understand the financial part of it. That's part of my background. And so I am good at blending the two and understanding what will make a difference and how to fund it.
Thank you. Mr. Cavan?
So I've come from a really long line of educators, teachers. They've all taught me that education is probably one of the most priceless gifts you can give a person. It's just almost invaluable in terms of how happy they're going to be and how successful they're going to be later in life. And, you know, I really feel like I'm learning that more and more every day. It's been almost my entire life in the Lee County School District, and it's played such a huge role in making me into who I am today. And so because of that, I have this enormous amount of just genuine love for the people who have brought me up into this person that I can be proud of, and that have made my friends able to go out and do what they want to do with their lives. And the main reason at the end of the day that I'm running for office is that I want to give back to those people. I want to make sure that they're able to continue to do that for every single generation after mine and into the future, so that our community can become a better place and our school district can become a place that people are proud to work in and happy to give their lives to, because that's what it takes. You know, it's an enormous commitment, and forming connections with those students and with the community, it's so important. It's one of the most important aspects of our community. My name's Emery Cavan. If you vote for me, I'll spend every single day making sure that I'm committed to making that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all of the candidates for showing up today. The school board races seem to be the most interesting ones to people in Lee County. They follow them. They're going to be very happy to see this forum video, and it'll be posted on our website after it's edited. Again, thank you very much on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Lee County and the Alliance for the Arts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.